Welcome to my space. Let's take 3 deep breaths together. Gather your energy back and land yourself in your low belly, womb, or cauldron space. On the exhale, spiraling down, relaxing through your inner body, all the way down into that womb, low belly, hara. Deep breath in. Gathering your energy, landing slowly, safely into that deep, nourishing, dark, low belly, womb. Deep breath in. And on this exhale, wiggle your spine just a little bit as you drop your awareness down into that beautiful womb, dark. Welcome. Today is winter solstice in the northern hemisphere. It's one of my favorite days, only recently favorite. I used to dread the winter, I used to hate the fall, and as I've slowed down and learned how to be in my natural rhythms a little bit better and in connection to the seasons and the rhythms and the cycles of nature with more consciousness, I am learning to enjoy the seasons, every single one of them, in my body as my body cycles and in nature as nature cycles. So, I feel really tender. I've had a really beautiful experience with my kiddos, who are all 4 home for Christmas this year. And we're slowing down this year. We're not doing much of the festivities at all. And we're allowing ourselves to be in rest, to honor the dark, and to be together in some of the mess of our stories that we're healing together. One of the threads for me is that I've been working to build a relationship to my womb space, a better relationship, a loving relationship to my pelvic bowl, to my cauldron, to my womb, to my roots. And even though I have born 4, I don't know why I keep thinking 3 children, 3 live with me, 1 is away. Even though I gave birth to 4 children and I love them all and I gave birth to them all naturally and had really good pregnancy and birth stories, I feel very grateful for that. I still had a lot of struggle and pain stored in my womb space, and much of it coming down through my generational line, through my mother line, which is true for many, many, many womb bearers. So as I have worked to build a relationship, to build awareness into this low belly, into this womb space, into my cauldron of wisdom, it's revealed a lot of generational pain. And I had this beautiful experience this week, painful and beautiful. My oldest kiddo has a womb and received the brunt of my first 2 kids received the brunt of my unhealed parenting and my own wounds. And that is brings a lot of grief. And at the same time, we are all in therapy and we're working our wounds together honestly, and we're in relationship even when it's really hard and messy. This time, my 25-year-old is home and they're in a happier space than they've ever been and have done a lot of their own inner work to hold themselves and to mother themselves and to do the work to heal the parts of them that I could not be a good mother for, and created some wounds inside of them. So the other night we were chatting about that. All of us were in the living room telling stories. Some of them we were laughing our asses off, and others of the stories I was sobbing. And just the reality of being a human parent and creating pain for these little people, they were little once, that I brought into the world. And I think one of the gifts of the moment was knowing we could all sit there and talk about what was true. And I could hold the parts of me that felt sad and defensive and angry and unsupported and hold loving awareness for my kids who were just honestly sharing their experiences of our younger years when I was very traumatized in the way that I lived in my own body and in the world and as a mother. So the next day, I spent a good amount of time by myself, really letting myself process through it, feel through it, hold myself through it. I did a lot of movement and sounding and crying and breathing and holding those younger versions of me, the young mother pieces in me, with so much love and tenderness, rescuing myself back from those timelines where parts of my psyche were stuck in that pain and in those cycles. And I felt like I was bringing home pieces of my shadowed self or split self to heal in my own loving awareness and to feel through some of the things that I needed to feel through with that love. So that was beautiful and exhausting. And then um, my oldest began bleeding the day that they came home. And the the day after I had spent crying, I had my oldest on my craniosacral table working on my kids. Has never been the easiest, but it's in the last couple of years because our relationship has changed and we've worked through so much of our wounds together. It's now a lot of fun actually to hold my kids in that space and to help their bodies balance and release old wounds. And I'm no longer triggered by the things I'm feeling in their bodies, thinking, oh my God, this is all my fault. No, not all my fault. Some I contributed to, but it's a gift to hold them now instead of triggered. So my oldest was on the table, and as I was um, holding their womb space, my my child ended up having this vision of the red thread connecting back, starting in their womb, connecting back to my womb, back and back and back through our mother line, and had this beautiful vision of that thread and honoring it, but also seeing it get darker and darker and darker. And the moment when my kiddo said stop and began to see a waterfall, and my kiddo pulled that thread through this waterfall, feeling the ancestral line being cleaned as we called all the ancestors back through this waterfall into love in our own present moment wombs. And the moment was incredibly powerful. After that session, I began bleeding, and I felt like, oh my goodness, this is like the biggest gift ever to experience this bleed together, this cycle together at the winter solstice in the darkest night. And we're pulling the dark into, through the cleansing water, into our own dark, cavey womb spaces. And then I got home um, after work that day, and my fourth child also has a womb and also started bleeding that day. So all three of us with wombs in the house, bleeding and cleansing the womb line, the ancestral line. But I woke up this morning and felt really, really agitated. And both of my grandmothers are alive. They're both 90. And I don't have connection to either one of them in the physical realm for really important reasons, both very different reasons. Um, but there was a lot. I saw a picture of one of them posted by an aunt of mine, and it created a lot of grief in my body. And then I woke up this morning feeling a little bit like just in this grief portal, crazy. I felt a little bit crazy. I felt like, what is happening inside of me? So I get to work and I'm meeting my body. I'm meeting the sensations. I feel this crushing pressure on my chest. I feel panicky. I feel disconnected. I feel all kinds of things in my physical body. And so in my office, I just spent time doing my morning practices, which honor all the directions and honor my lineage in, I honor the paternal lineage in the south and my maternal lineage in the north. And I honor myself, my light and my dark, my feminine and my masculine in the east and the west. And as I was doing this practice, I got to the west or to the north to honor my mother line and immediately felt this crushing grief. And as I fell to the ground, sobbing, 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 and my cramps, my bleed was just painful, painful, painful. And I'm sobbing and I'm rocking myself and I'm feeling the tears fall to the ground as waterfall. And I immediately know that the work that my oldest and I did on the table yesterday, meeting the womb, the the waterfall that she saw cleansing the line was the grief, tears of grief and the blood and the water. And so I spent a long time letting my moans and my tears fall and my blood bleed through my body in cleansing of my ancestral lines. So I share that story, that precious personal story, mostly because I felt led to. There's a lot of nuance on the way that I have worked my generational, ancestral, specifically motherline trauma, and met it through my womb, um, through somatics, through sound, through women's work, through womb work, through working with my sexuality and working through traumas and abuse, and meeting the pain that happened in this lifetime and in many lives past with honesty and courage in order to feel this thread being pulled through the waterfall of tears and the gift of the blood. One last piece that I'm wanting to add here is connected to when I was growing up in Christianity. There was so much emphasis on the symbols of the blood and the water that flowed from the side of Jesus that cleansed and forgave sins. And when I discovered that the blood and the water originally meant the birthing fluids breaking, and at birth, the blood and the water flow to bring new life into the world, I was also full of grief for all the years that I missed being able to honor the sacredness of the blood in my body, cleansing me, cleansing the land, cleansing my line, and the tears that flow and the water that flows through me as a wombed being, to heal and to forgive and to cleanse. And so if you've never heard that truth, that the symbols of the blood and the water and the broken body actually first began in the birth story, the birthing creatrix, the goddess, the divine mother, then I invite you to explore that for yourself. You don't have to believe me. There's plenty of ways that you can discover that material on your own. but it changed my relationship to my body. It changed my relationship to woman. It changed my relationship to my blood, to my womb, to my kids, and to my lineage, and to my role as a wombed being in the world. So on this darkest night, I'm taking into the cave this beautiful awareness of the blood and the water and the red thread being pulled, pulling all of my ancestors through the blood and the water into new life. And may you be blessed. May you be held in the womb of the earth, the cosmic womb, the divine womb. And may you find within your own body a place of safety and nourishment and creativity and passion and power and gentleness holding you through this darkest night before we move into the light. Many blessings. I will return. I hope you do too.